Hi, ladies and gentlemen. Terry Martin. I'm joined with Jeff Berkowitz in Chicago for our weekly take a look at some of the issues. And Jeff, we're finally past covering the spring legislature of the spring session, I should say, of the legislature. And as we tape this on June 14th, one of the big issues internationally is the war in Iran. And will we have a peace treaty signed? Possibly the president teased and say maybe this weekend. We taped this on Saturday, but who knows? Let me get your thoughts real quick, and then we're going to go on some of the other big stories of the week. But what do you think about where we are in this Iranian bills or peace
Well,
signing?
we're taping this, we should say, on June 13th. People may be seeing it online as early as Sunday, June 14th. And they're reporting, the reporting is in the news, that Trump is saying that we'll have a signing on Sunday, June 14th. Iran's doing their usual, "Hey, he's crazy, we may do it soon, not tomorrow." We're being told it's going to be an electronic signing because that's what Iran wants. And this is my criticism of this long thing for the last 2 months. We just do what they want. And so they're going to talk stupid and say there is no signing, prove it, and we don't have a picture. I think Trump should invite them to come to the UFC, the Ultimate Fighting Championship at the White House tomorrow, Sunday the 14th, and sign the damn thing there. Ayatollah Khomeini, okay, the supreme leader, come watch and sign, and it'll be videoed, and the whole world will see. If he says something different, they're liars. They're liars. That's what I would do, Terry.
Well, they're not. I don't think they're going to be denying that there was a signing because we're going to have the electronic version. No one's going to believe them. And the other thing is the president. One of the things the secretary I just heard earlier today, the U.S. Treasury, which is holding on to money that was targeted to go to Iran. I mean, Iranian money. We've got their money frozen. And if they do any damage, if they blow up any ship, if they do any kind of damage to other neighbors, the Treasury is going to pay for the cost of repairs out of the Iranian money. So the Iranians now know that hey, you break it, you buy it. And I think that is a great thing to do on this agreement. I frankly think the president has been more than generous and more than patient over this long period of time, and then had to go back to blowing up some things just recently to get them to move on it. And finally, they did. But yeah, I don't think anyone believes this regime in Iran can be trusted at all.
Well, I would say when they called him a few days ago and said, "Stop the bombing," he should have said, here's a surrender agreement. All the things we want, we're going to get, and you sign it now, and you open up the straits to the allies and everybody at no charge, and then we got a deal. But you're not getting any money in case you think you are when we say we have a deal. I want to see that uranium. I want to see the nuclear dust. Help us or we'll go get it ourselves. We're going to accomplish that. I want to see that you're no longer having surrogates or proxies and going after countries all around. I want to see that for a month, 2 months, maybe a half a year.
Well, that is, by the way,
Have
part of the deal. In
Well,
in the in Lebanon,
we hear.
they have to move away from the Israeli border where they have been bombing villages or sending missiles in there. They have to move away from the Iranian border. I'm sorry, the Israeli border. Their forces in Lebanon, and if they are going to attack Israel, then the Israelis are green lighted to go and attack them. But unless they are attacking Israel, then the Israelis have been told that you're part of this ceasefire and agreement. You can't be unilaterally attacking the proxies in
And,
Lebanon.
and let's emphasize there is no money, there are no billions of dollars in cash coming as happened under Obama to Iran.
No.
Not on the signing, not on 2 months after. Maybe the sanctions will be released or lifted after a year, I don't know if they're ever going to get their frozen assets back. As far as I'm concerned, that was the penalty for 47 years of bad behavior. They lost the war. I want everybody, including Iran's friends, if they have anybody, to know this, and we will say it if they won't, and they will act as if they lost the war. They will surrender. We're not giving them money to be good. They should be that because they want to be a part of this world. We're going to let them. But I don't even think that's enough. You know what they really need? They need regime change. They
Well,
need
that's
the
what
IRGC.
that's what I
They need
want.
the
I think that's what
IRGC
General Keane wants,
removed.
and I think that's what most of the people around the world, frankly, want. That
Right.
we need a new government. And one of the commentators I heard this week said, "What's going on now reminds her of what happened with the Soviet Union." That they were weakened, and then while the Berlin Wall came down in the fall of 1989, it was the Soviet Union then collapsed, as I recall, in 1991. So I think the thinking maybe within the Trump administration would be that they have weakened this regime. They're going to continue to hold back money from them to make sure that they go along with the agreement, and that would weaken them, and then hopefully eventually this regime will collapse. We'll have to see on that. But Jeff, what we can say is right now, just to talk, if the Strait of Hormuz is open, the price of oil around the world will fall dramatically and quickly. And just on the talk that we have had of a peace agreement recently, let me bring up what the price of oil was back on May the 17th, $105 a barrel. And that's why in many places around the country, gas prices got up to in the neighborhood of $5 a gallon. But now, just here is the price today at basically $85 a barrel, so down $20 in a matter of weeks based upon that speculation. And Jeff, that is making it a lot more affordable, not as affordable as it had been. But right now, I got gas today in Springfield at one station, and it was below $4. So that's probably down about 75 or 80 cents from where it had been just a few weeks ago. On the other hand, I remember that we were below $3 back before the Iranian war began. So it's still a long way to go. But this could help the Republicans if they can get that oil price to go down from here on forward before we get to the November elections.
But as President Trump told the country just this week, that the United States has been bringing out millions and millions, I think he said 100 million barrels of oil, and that large amount in just a few days, maybe over a longer period, at night in the Straits of Hormuz with their lights off. That's why that Apache helicopter that was shot down by the Iranians, that's what they were doing there. They were escorting at night these oil tankers out through the Straits of Hormuz to the rest of the world. That's why the price didn't go, to 120 or 150. Yeah, it did move up from 85, as you just pointed out, it moved up from 65 to 85 and then to 108, but now it's back to 85 because we're bringing the oil out. But
we got a lot of oil. And I want to wrap up on this, but to your point, sure. We are producing more oil now in the United States because we have a president that gave the green light to, unlike President Biden, who was at war with the oil companies. This president is what? Drill, baby, drill. He also now is, there's money going in to fix the oil production in Venezuela. Their oil production is up, nowhere near what it should be, but it's increased since Maduro's been gone. And now we'll have to see what happens with Iran. But the world has no shortage of oil.
Finish up, but if you're finished, I didn't want to interrupt you. I just want to say, and you're making a good point, take it to the next step, is that now's the time to start talking as this deal is being signed. Folks, this is what America is about now, not under Biden, but under President Trump. It's about having a strong defense, using our military thoughtfully, as we've done here, to remove the conventional military means of doing any harm, conventional, from Iran. And because of that, we were able to, as we're moving to remove the nuclear capability, which we've started, we buffered the increase in the price of oil. The United States did. President Trump did. Drill baby, and all the oil that you pointed out that we now have, we're now a dominant producer in the world because of this policy. This is what they need to start running on for the midterms now, June 13th, as we tape this. Don't wait till September or October. This is part of the case. And folks say, okay, you paid a somewhat higher price for a while, but now it's coming down because of who? Because of these policies that we've been pursuing under President Trump for the last year and a half. This is the case to make to the midterms, and as we'll see in the rest of the show, their case is they're bringing us Democratic Socialists of America to America. That's the National Democratic Party case. Balance
Look,
those
the
two,
Democrats,
who wins
the
midterm?
Democrats nationally have a very an earned reputation as being soft on crime and soft on national defense. And you see it where the Democrats are against American oil, which strengthens us internationally, strengthens our economy. They have a candidate, the Democrats do, running for the Senate in Texas. How do you think this oil production plays in Texas? I think it plays damn well because there's so many people, whether you're working in the oil fields or not, oil money coming into Texas ripples through Texas. And anyone who's wanting to not be for production of oil down there is cutting their own throat. Plus, I think this candidate's made a number of crazy statements, frankly, just politically inopportune. But
well, he's a vegan to boot in Texas. How do you think all these ranchers, where they say, if you see one ranch, there are 50 more you didn't see? He didn't. So the cattle there and so forth. Well, that's going to be a great policy to run on for Senate across the state of Texas. Why don't we all go vegan? Okay.
By the way, Jeff, you know what? Just this week, the crazy the socialist mayor of Seattle, Washington, and they wanted to pass yet another tax. Ken Fisher, who is a renowned financial investor and manages billions of dollars of people's money, this week put out a one-line press release and basically said adios to Seattle, and is now moving his operation out of Seattle and down into Texas. So one more major player, and a guy like Ken Fisher moving that. It's not just Ken Fisher. It's all of his people that are working. It's something like 400 people, and they're making big bucks. They're not making, $50,000 a year. These are multiple six-figure people or seven-figure salaries. And all of the money they spend on their homes, on going to restaurants, etc., that's now leaving the state of Washington. And the Democrats, seem to be oblivious. I want to play this on one of the candidates that is running for the U.S. House here. And let's play this. I want to get your comment on the backside.
He's someone who has voted time and time again to fund ICE, who takes donations from contractors that benefit from ICE and ICE detention, and who has refused to stand up against a genocide. And I think in a time where so many Americans have been horrified by what we've seen across the globe, wondering why their tax dollars are going towards these atrocities abroad and not investing in their communities here at home.
So Jeff, Democrat, Socialist, Chevalier, what say you about what you're hearing?
Look, she's a liar, and the press are letting her get away with this. I mean, I found that clip and I was looking for a clip that would be accurate and I couldn't find it because you know what? She has softened all this stuff. She's a Democrat. She is a socialist. She's not a capitalist. She's not even a, she's a, I don't even know if she's a socialist. She's more of a communist. Okay. But she's running on vanilla. But before, she's young. When she was just a few years ago, she was tweeting and she was tweeting stuff that she doesn't want to run on. So she deleted it. And the journalists know about it and they know about the tweets, but I couldn't find any questions.
Let's be clear.
about
Where
it.
is she running for the House? I mean, what state is it in? Do you know?
It's in New York.
Okay.
Okay. It's in New York. I think it maybe include parts of a broad district, Manhattan and Harlem and so forth.
But
the
it's
point-
indicative, as I was talking about the mayor of Seattle, who's a socialist. We got Mondami in New York City, and you can go down across the country. I think you may even have a list of some of the people who are.
Right.
We should. I think when we even call some of these people socialist, they're frankly. Are probably more accurate if we were calling them communists, because these people are anti-capitalism and pro-government control of the economy. And by the way, as an aside, also this week, for the first time in human history, we had Elon Musk had his IPO, initial public offering of SpaceX. And that briefly yesterday, that came out yesterday briefly, that pushed Elon Musk's wealth up into the $1 trillion range. So Elon Musk, who came here about 36 years ago or so with a bag of books and a couple of bucks in his pocket, this is America. He came here as an immigrant and using his talents and his risk-taking to create PayPal, to create Tesla, now to create SpaceX, and there's more. The man is one of the most talented humans ever to walk the planet. Yesterday he hit $1 trillion. That's the promise of America. People, they're not just born here. They come here from around the world. They bring their talents, and then their talents enrich humankind. That's I would argue the promise of capitalism. Why the Democratic Party has gone so far down the road of socialism, I don't get it.
Well, Bernie Sanders is a popular guy in the National Democratic Party. And folks, he is an unabashed socialist. I guess he did run for president, didn't quite win the nomination. But this is who they are. They're not capitalists in the Democratic Party. Nobody's speaking. Mark Kelly, the astronaut, he's letting this all go. He doesn't give a rat's ass. He wants to run for president, and he knows where the power is in the Democratic Party. So if he has to be quiet about the socialists, if he has to hint that he's a socialist, he'll do it. He'll do it. And the media will just let him get away with it. Yeah.
And where are these alleged centrist Democrats like Ro Khanna? Ro Khanna went to New York or actually to Maine with this Glenn Platner, if I'm saying his name right, but Graham Platner, right? And campaigned with Graham Platner, this guy has a Nazi tattoo on his chest, and he's another one who's a socialist. So how can you say Ro Khanna as an example of a moderate centrist Democrat, and yet he goes and the only person consistently in the Democrat Party who stands up for common sense and decency, frankly, is John Fetterman, the Democrat senator of Pennsylvania, who is representative of what Democrats used to be about 30 years ago. That Democrat Party is dead. This is the Democrat Socialist Party.
You and I will remember the name Daniel Patrick Moynihan.
Sure.
That's when Democrats were actually patriotic. That's when Democrats believed in the documents that were signed after or thereabouts on July 4th, 1776. They believed in the Declaration of Independence. They believed in the U.S. Constitution. Moynihan was as much of a patriot as you are, Terry.
He was revered
being a
by the left,
patriot,
but he was
excuse me.
also respected by the conservatives. And for a period of time before he became a senator, Daniel Patrick Moynihan served as a domestic policy advisor to Richard Nixon in Nixon's first term.
And Scoop Jackson from Washington,
Another
they used to
great
call him
Democrat senator.
They used to call him the senator from
Boeing, yeah.
Boeing was in Washington there. They're gone. They're gone.
They're
That was
gone.
national
John,
defense.
I was producing Senate coverage with C-SPAN back in the 90s. John Kerry of Nebraska, or Bob Kerry, I'm sorry, Bob Kerry of Nebraska, got the Medal of Honor in Vietnam. Democrat senator, he was a moderate Democrat and worked well. He worked with John, too many names, John, who I know, anyway, the senator of Missouri. They worked on trying to do something on entitlement reform. But anyway, those Democrats are gone. Those Democrats who you could work across the aisle with are virtually no more.
Let's welcome to the new Democratic Party, because we don't have some Democrats here to welcome them, Dr. Khamenei, okay, who testified on behalf of the blind sheik in 1993, who was responsible for the first World Trade Center bombing. Yes, and he's running, and he'll win easily the 12th congressional district in New Jersey because it's dominated by a great majority of Democrats. So that's done. Let him do that. Don't ask him about why he would be testifying on behalf of the blind sheik. Hey, that was 2 decades ago, a mere indiscretion of his youth, okay? Okay, he was like 25, but you can't expect him to know about things like who's bombing the World Trade Center.
And Jeff, you're talking about the World Trade Center bombing, I believe you said 93, where they blew up a car in the basement trying to bring down the building. And then
that was the precursor to September 11th.
And it killed like 6 people, as I recall. Right. And then, of course, they targeted 9/11, and we're coming up in the 25th anniversary of that. And they brought down the World Trade Center.
Let's welcome the likely nominee.
If you got a list of names, we're running out of time. You got to give it to us real fast here. Just run through this
real fast. The likely nominee of the Democratic Party to the U.S. Senate from Michigan, Dr. Abdul Saeed, okay, whose campaigns with Piker, a social influencer, who says that America deserves September 11 because we had the blowback that they caused in the Middle East, okay? And that's who he campaigned with. Somebody who says Hamas is way better than any of the folks that are being supported by Republicans, okay? Hamas, okay? That's who. And then we come to Chevalier, we just mentioned in New York. She's running against an incumbent who wants to abolish ICE, but that's not enough for her. He doesn't say it enough. He doesn't go after somebody who once contracted with ICE. He doesn't say open borders enough. He doesn't say I want to tax all your
And
wealth.
when you say let's give us a name, because
the new Democratic Party.
Who's the he?
Okay.
Who is the he you keep saying he doesn't say?
Oh, okay. Yeah, his name is Adriano, Democratic Congressman Adriano Espaillat, okay? He's not far enough left. And so the point is, folks, if you're a Democrat out there and you're a centrist, and I know some, and they're there, you ought to be a little bit worried if this is how you're going to take back the U.S. House, the majority.
Well, and the other thing is,
take back the U.S.
we
Senate.
used to have Democrats like John F. Kennedy who were very strong pro-defense because they had witnessed what happened in their lifetime when America was weak, when we didn't have the strongest army in the world, and that led to World War II because Hitler thought he could take on the world because he saw a weak America. Today, the world is more at peace because we have the United States with our strong military, but not the Democrat Party. They're not for it. What did they do earlier this year? They shut down the government, or last fall. Remember when they shut down the government because they didn't want to fund Homeland Security? By the way, this week, the Republicans, through a reconciliation bill, did fund Homeland Security and funded it through the end of the Trump term in office. So the Democrats will no longer be able to have that as a whipping boy. But now FISA, which is the Foreign Intel the Foreign
Surveillance
Intel
Act.
Surveillance Act. I want to make sure I got the acronym right. We so often call it just FISA. But FISA, which came out after the 9/11 attacks, has stopped any number of terrorist attacks because our intelligence organizations can tap into and hear the buzzwords that are going on across the internet. But what happened this week, Jeff? They tried to pass FISA and renew it, and this was yesterday. It didn't pass. Here's the House Speaker talking about this.
And it is very, very dangerous. Let me just tell you what's happened here. Today, we just offered a simple, clean 3-week extension of the FISA national security law. The Democrats, 199 of them, voted against a clean 3-week extension for political purposes. And when the bill went down, they applauded. They applauded it.
All right, there you go. It was much longer, but if people want to go online, they can see it. But the thing is, we should also mention there were 19 Republicans who actually broke ranks and voted also not to extend FISA. FISA, I would certainly admit, has had its critics over the years because there are legitimate concerns about the right to privacy of American citizens, and we don't want a dictatorial government being able to listen to everything we say. But you got to also come to terms, and hopefully they work this out, because right now FISA is dead in the water.
Even Donald Trump, who was a victim of many of those abuses of FISA, wanted to see this get extended. And there are 199 of the, 212 Democrats who voted no. Let it go dark. We don't care
and Jeff,
about
I don't know, to remind the people, as we heard in the bite, it was going to be a 3-week extension. And the point was, let's not have FISA die. Let's extend it for 3 weeks, and we will continue negotiating a deal. But, this is the problem with Capitol Hill right now. The Democrats, if Trump is for it, do not want to give an inch. And they had to pass this reconciliation to fund the border, to pass Homeland Security and get our border people paid, et cetera. And now they're blocking more FISA here.
Look, this is what you run on for the midterms, because these are important things that relate to the national defense. Just as you run on Chevalier, that the Democrats we've mentioned are supporting, because what? She wants to go after the genocidal Israel, the same Israel that helped us prevail over Iran to make the world safer for the United States and many of the Middle Eastern countries that surround Iran. She wants to go after the genocidal Israel, our ally. She wants to get the Palestinians.
Okay, well, look, I think we've beaten this dog to death, but there's something tomorrow. Sunday is June 14th. It's Flag Day. You know what it also is, Jeff? It is President Trump's 80th birthday, and the president now will become only the second president in American history to be in his 80s while he is in the White House. Joe Biden was the only one. President Trump will join him tomorrow. Also tomorrow at the White House will be the UFC fights. And that is going to be quite the show. Here's what NPR had to say.
The UFC is staging a fight in a towering octagon on the White House lawn this weekend, and Rubio says world leaders are clamoring to attend.
The number of foreign leaders that want to come to this is unbelievable. It's to the point where we may have a diplomatic crisis, because it's like, we can't bring everybody.
He also got laughs when he said that perhaps the Trump administration will keep the octagon for weekly fights between people in politics to, quote, settle our scores that way. Michelle Kellerman, NPR News.
And folks, Marco Rubio, as he said, maybe we should get the fight going on about FISA in the ring there. But either way, we need to run. I'll give you the last word before we get away.
Now's the time for the Republicans to get involved in the midterms. Get involved, make your arguments, win the midterms. It's important for the presidency for the next 2 years.
All right, and I'll say happy birthday, Mr. President. We'll see you next time.